to the March Indaba, all of you folks. We have a very special guest today. We have Simon Butcher here to talk a little bit about some AI art wallpaper. Some of you might have seen like the OMG Ubuntu article kind of announcing his really cool work using AI, a clip diffusion model to generate some Ubuntu art for us. It looks really cool. So I would encourage you to go read that article if you have never heard of it. Maybe we can post a link to that. Yeah, cool. Yeah, so my name's Heather, your usual host. We also have Monica and Britt, some familiar faces. And then we have Simon here to talk about some really cool art. Yeah, so Simon, would you like to introduce yourself and talk a little bit about what you do? Yeah.
Well, thanks for the introduction. Glad to be here. So I'm a long-time Linux user, probably about 25 years, using it in the workplace.
Ubuntu.
And I've been maybe using Ubuntu at work and at home pretty much exclusively for the last 15 years or so. Really just choosing the most essential tool for my job to get things done, really. I'm an open source enthusiast. Just love using just the random different stuff there is out there and just making it work. I'm not a coder, I'm not a developer, but I'm a systems builder. So I can use tools that other people have made and make things work. And that's something that I really enjoy, and sort of architecting systems. And that kind of feeds into my job. So my job is I'm a head of research platforms at Queen Mary University in London. And I basically manage teams that support a supercomputer. So all of the research in the university goes on this supercomputer. We have loads of GPUs, we have loads of compute cores, like 12,000 compute cores or so. Everyone's running their work on there, and we help them run their research. It's mostly open source tools that they use on there, and it's I know I'm very fortunate to use open source in my work, pretty much every day. So yeah, that's me.
So you're basically helping people use GPUs for good.
Yes, we have a usage policy line in our usage policy that says you're not allowed to use do Bitcoin mining.
Yeah, that's good. Very cool. So how did you get into this sort of like AI drawing pictures?
Right. Well, it starts when I was little, when I had an 8-bit microcomputer at home, and you had the Mandelbrot set and all these Julia fractals, and I love that stuff. And I might even ask my dad, can I leave the computer on overnight? So because it's computing a new picture and I want to see the picture. And I've always enjoyed kind of using computing power to do these cool things. And people who know me, I've been kind of in and around the Ubuntu community for a while as well, and I know quite a few of the guys, and they always ping me and say, hey, have you seen this new thing? I bet Simon would like doing this. And I'm a mug for things like that. I'd always say, oh, go on then. And it can be quite a short-term obsession. I'll be like, for 2 weeks I'll be totally engrossed and totally obsessed by this new thing that I'm doing. I mean, back in the day, I kind of downloaded an archive of all of Donald Trump's tweets, fed them into an AI so that it could write tweets like Donald Trump, and that kind of stuff. I think I did the face swapping videos. So any new thing that comes out, I'm like, I've got fast computers, I've got big computers, I'm all over it. So why not?
Yeah, there was also I got to know Simon through the Ubuntu podcast community, which was one of and it's the Telegram group still there. It is an awesome group of people. And we did get to use your supercomputer for some math good one weekend in 2019. Oh my goodness, with the super permutations.
It's going to be quite hard to explain, but in a nutshell, permutations it's some mathematical idea about the different permutations of watching a sequence of I think it was some anime video series, and which order you could watch them in, and what's what's the shortest order that
Oh
you
my gosh, you did.
run it. It's a really quite complicated. There's a few videos about it on YouTube by the Matt Parker, the mathematician guy, and we got involved because they were using a kind of a distributed model of, you know, how can we try to do this mathematical proof. And I don't know how it started. I just said, come on guys, I've started it off, and I've called it like Ubuntu podcast or something, and everyone just jumped on, and everyone was spinning up their microservers with like 8 cores, going, yeah, we're contributing, and it was really good collective kind of effort. People didn't realize that I'd kind of devoted about 2,000 cores on a supercomputer.
They did at one point, and it's like, oh, the Ubuntu, then the Ubuntu sysadmins attacked, and it eventually came down with between us and Iceland. But it was just, I think that was what made me realize this community was amazing. That this is what we did for 2 days, and it was great.
That sounds like a lot of fun, for sure. So hey, how about we show some of the artwork that you have made besides the OMG Ubuntu stuff? You have this really nice presentation, set of slides of beautiful art. So
this is just a couple of pictures that I knocked up in the last day or so. I have access to a very fast GPU that can spit these out in 5 minutes. So this is on pretty much the lowest settings. On a much slower GPU, it might take an hour. But yeah, these get knocked out in about 5 minutes. And they can take an abstract concept, such as here we have Cyberpunk Cafe in Marrakesh. And as you can see, it's picked up some of the ideas here, and incredibly, it really, you know, I love the feel, I love the look of it. It just has its own real style. And you can churn out a batch of 50 of these or 100 of these, which I might do if I'm trying a new theme or a new idea. So the next slide is also just from the same batch, and it's there we go, and it's different. You can tell the same theme, the same style, but it's different, and it will keep churning out different scenes along this style. It's wonderful.
It almost seems like the same picture from a different angle.
I was just going to say the same thing.
So you can have you can run it against, it uses a particular starting seed, and I'll usually use a random seed. But if you have a particular style or particular look that you liked, then it tells you what seed this software that I'm using. It tells you what seed it used, and maybe you could produce a bunch of similar pictures using that particular number. A bit like, if you're seeding a Minecraft world, it uses the starting number to generate this kind of procedural world. It's similar to this.
So when you're putting in a text string to map, to a picture, Marrakesh, is that a place that I don't know about, or is that a fictional place?
That's Morocco.
It's in Morocco. Yep. Okay, haven't been there.
I just randomly thought, hey, I wonder what this would look like. Ooh. And it has this kind of North African
the kind of
architecture
feel.
It's picked it up, and it blows my mind really, because the training data that they used, the data set, I'm amazed that they've got this much rich material in it, because it can produce all sorts of crazy stuff, abstract things that don't exist, and real things. You think, how do they know what Daleks look like? How do they know what this is? I did one the other day, Daleks on the beach. Stuff.
If that's not in the slide deck, we might need you to pull that one up, because I want to see Daleks on the beach.
Well, now the thing is, some things work great, and some things don't work so great, and we can talk about that a bit later when we talk about the wallpapers. So I'll click through a couple of these scenes. So you can choose, actually specify an artist or specify a particular medium that you're drawing in. Does that look reminiscent of anything to you? I mean, I've seen quite a few of these kind of French cafe paintings, and it might not be exactly the Monet, but it looks like that. to me that just looks like, I used to have pictures on the wall at home that looked like that kind of, to me that just screams like the French kind of Paris style.
It totally does.
It
amazing.
does.
And you can specify all sorts of artists. So here we go. I love this one. So here you see I've done Starry Night, but I said Starry London, and it's done it.
That is beautiful.
It's incredible. But it's picked up some London skyline, and if I ran a batch of 50, maybe you'd get some with Big Ben, some with other things, So yeah, it will draw these. I love looking at these. It's so addictive because you can just keep churning them out, and you always want to look at the next one. So here's another one.
So like, it's really interesting that you can do it from like kind of the perspective, not the perspective of the artist, but the style of the artist. But those artists are dead. So what about like modern day artists that might want to like protect their style? Wonder.
Can you protect the style? I don't know.
Can you? Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, that's an interesting question.
Yeah.
I mean,
if Van Gogh had been alive and we had made a Starry London and then say printed some and tried to sell them, like he would be able to say no, right? So I wonder about like modern artists, what they can do.
They're definitely there because there's a lot of I use ArtStation as which is a website where people upload their art. I use that as an inspiration for getting artists. So when I was doing the Ubuntu ones, I was looking for kind of quite vivid, vibrant artists, and he doesn't copy them exactly. Obviously, that Van Gogh one, there must be a lot of his material in the data set.
Yeah, that's true.
Together in this neural network, so the data doesn't end up there, but there's a neural network that has learned his style.
Yeah.
So here you see a different medium. It's colored pencils. It can
is really beautiful.
You can do liquid metal. It can do all these different styles, and because this AI is so new, then people are just finding out new techniques and new tips and just finding out stuff that because it's a neural network. There's no just list of things. Oh yeah, this is how you use it. It's like explore, have fun.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Oh,
it is. I love it. I churned out maybe 10 of these as a little batch, and yeah, they all look wonderful, all different and all beautiful. Here we go. So this is a name of an artist. I think he's a Russian landscape artist, and it doesn't actually look like his style, but it is a style. So if you look at his landscape work, he doesn't really look like this, but he looks good.
And that is amazing that it's not just then copying a style, it's creating its own. And then that gets you into all those questions of how does an AI just, like all these things that like aesthetic kind of senses, how does it know these things? How does it create them? How does it make us maybe redefine, what it means to have aesthetic sense? So, because that's beautiful and that is very coherent, and it's just, wow, who would have thought like that's a program that you ran on your computer that made that?
And that's the difference with this AI versus other AIs that I've used. The aesthetics and the coherency of many of the results are stunning, and they're novel artworks. They're not copies, and they're not like we've just applied a style to another picture. It starts off with noise, and the diffusion model slowly brings this out. Maybe we should kick off. I should probably get some suggestions soon. Well, I think if we're going to do some live suggestions, it probably takes 5 minutes to do some. So I'm mindful of time.
Right.
I show this one because I like Joseph Wright. He's in the National Gallery in London, and he does things with light really well. And this is not really like a Joseph Wright painting, but I liked this result because I could see a bit of the light work here. It doesn't do people that well, and it doesn't do anatomy that well. You ask it to draw the dog,
That's
and
hard.
it'll be a mutant.
Why is that? Is it just got some biases there that it just? I mean, I read that that Clip was really good at like zero shot learning, which is like where it has never been, you know, given that training data set to still be able to draw things that it was asked for.
Yeah.
So what's the reason behind like its shortcomings of drawing human anatomy?
I think so. The way when I'm trying to think of things to draw, the phrase that I give it is a bit like the difference between someone that's good at doing Google searches and another one that doesn't quite get there. You've got good Google for finding the right search, and it's a bit of an iterative process where you kind of inject other words. But when I think of something to draw, then if it's something I can sketch, it comes out really, in my mind, if I could sketch it, it comes out really well. A jellyfish is not, the jellyfishes that I made were not perfect. A biologist would be quite upset if they saw it. That doesn't look like exactly like it. But if we were to draw one, that's how we would draw it. But when I tried drawing the koalas, I got a horrific mutant. I looked like a big lipstick on it. It was really weird.
No.
I have to keep refining it, and I'm trying to find ways, maybe trying to zoom out so that they're not big in the scene or anything. But I reckon dogs might be right. There's loads of dogs in the training set, but only I did look on ArtStation for koalas, and I saw some random weird stuff, and it was weird doodles and drawings, and maybe some of the stuff that's been sucked into the training set from ImageNet was tagged as a koala, but it wasn't what we think a koala is. So
yeah,
that makes sense though. Like, the more human features, the more human-like. So a mammal, in this case, something that has mammal-like features, we're going to be much more sensitive to any deviations from what we'd find as the norm. This is that uncanny valley psychology concept. Whereas a jellyfish, we don't really have any frame of reference, generally speaking, for what is right or wrong with the jellyfish. So
yeah, and it's like a blob with dangly bits below it.
Yeah.
I mean, but if you look closely at this picture, are the humans actually correct? Or is it just an impressionist style that we are filling in the gap?
It's kind of hard to say because you can see like a hand and a foot occasionally, but no real full silhouette of any full human. Looks pretty cool. Like you can't see a face, at least I can tell.
Yeah, it kind of looks like if you're squinting at a D&D manual, basically. That's what this reminds me of.
Ooh, this coming up with D&D monsters. That would be amazing.
Ooh.
You could have custom D&D monsters every week.
Yeah, so it's really good at doing those kind of abstract, horrific, nightmarish monsters and creatures, because you're not deciding, does it have to have arms and legs in this specific place? But a human and a dog, we know that a dog should not have two heads, which happened to me the other day.
I think we have a winning suggestion. I think we have to do this one.
My daughter said, "Please, Dad, can you draw a chihuahua for me? She loves dogs." And I couldn't show her the result because it was horrific.
And then you just go, why don't you just draw one? You can make art better than the computer can.
So I did monster playing the piano instead, and it worked out great because it was this formless weird monster playing the piano, and she was happy. But
what I think is amazing, and I don't know if anyone else agrees, is that with things like architecture, especially with that French cafe, it manages to create realistic looking architecture that seems like it could actually be structurally sound, and that's very highly technical. Like you could, and with like the way that it orients trees correctly on a mountainside, like it creates a very realistic setting that looks like that could be a real biological landscape. Like it could put the gigantic trees on the top of the mountain and small ones at the bottom, which would be counterintuitive to what we're used to with landscapes, but it didn't. And it's just incredible to me. It kind of blows my mind that like that level of nuance is captured in these AI learning models.
Now, do I have one? Oh, I did have one with reflections on it. I can't remember. Maybe I don't know if I included it in this set. The reflections work quite well, but if you examine it really close, it's not perfect. But in the impressionist general style, it still looks nice. So I'm going to show you a couple of steampunk ones because it loves steampunk. Steampunk robot army.
Oh, I love that one.
It's just vivid and sharp. I love it. I like the depth of field that it sometimes adds. You can't always control depth of field. Sometimes if you specify an artist, then it does actually fix the depth of field. But here we go, steampunk children's playground.
These are much more. They have a much higher level of detail. Is that something that, like, if the model just keeps going, it will reach this detail, or is that just a parameter? Like, that just happens to be this way?
So in fact, these were all done at lowest setting, that were a kind of default setting, but it's the style. The style here. I actually wrote Unreal Engine, and Unreal Engine is one of the magic source that people have found produces photorealistic results. So the earlier ones were in the style of a painter, and they really look like a painting. These ones, they look like kind of real. I want to play in this playground.
It does.
Looks like you get tetanus.
It's
The tetanus would be worth it.
and you can specify an abstract concept, and you can specify a different medium. Say it's a child's drawing, and
can you specify things to avoid? So could you say like no reflections and have it, steer away from something, or is it only what you actively want?
I haven't tried. I suspect that you would just need to kind of steer away in terms of, I want to, if it's a bit gloomy, then you say sunny day or something like that.
Gotcha.
And people might be wondering what the AI thinks of Linux. It knows it's penguin related and
computers.
A monitor with some code on it, looks like. Maybe some
Yeah,
IRC.
That's awesome.
I'm kind of seeing a U on that monitor there. Maybe it's,
You're like a DSLR streaming camera.
It does look like there's a monster trying to climb out of one of the monitors on the left-hand side, though.
Yes.
A little bit, yeah.
What's the difference between the low fidelity render versus like the high or ultra fidelity render? Like, what is substantially difference between the two?
So all the ones I did in this little slide deck were they are all the same. They are the same resolution. However, for the wallpapers, you can actually upscale. So really, the training set is actually based on quite a low resolution, but there's some AI tools that let you upscale, and it works really well.
Okay, so when you say like it was rendered low versus high, that's just like the pixels, like the amount of pixels that are on the image.
Yeah, and then you can actually do upscaling, so it draws, it can produce it in a higher resolution, and it doesn't seem to be losing any definition or clarity. It seems to work really well.
Wow. It's honestly astonishing. It might put artists out of work, which is terrible. But imagine you could have an Etsy shop where you just make prints of things you render in 5 minutes.
Well, obviously not portraiture art, because let's be honest, family portraits, you don't want it to be a hellscape of people.
You don't.
Oh, nice. So we've got other
I want to see
prompt here.
Right, that might.
Bird of prey.
Which ones do we have? Klingon bird of prey. Well, that's going to be. I can't make any promises about that one.
There have to be Star Trek nerds who have put stuff into the training things, and I'm saying this as a Star Trek nerd here.
I'm gonna pump it in. So I'll explain a little bit how the software works. You can run it yourself.
Show the notebook?
Yeah, sure.
Here we go.
It's quite ugly because I'm actually running that. You can run this notebook in the cloud in Google Colab, which is running Jupyter notebooks, which is a way of running Python code interactively. You can run it in Google Colab, and it looks a lot more pretty than this. But Colab, I think, has some proprietary elements to it. So if you're running your own notebooks, you don't get all the prettiness. And so this is just code now that you're looking at here, but there's a prompt here, right? So that Joseph Wright one that I showed you earlier, that's the prompt that I had. So you might hear some keyboard clacking now as I quickly type in. I'm gonna do lonely deserted warehouse, blah blah blah. Now, what was that guy's name? About the Russian.
Oh, the Russian. Ivan.
Do we need to specify an artist, or
it helps?
Okay.
Okay.
Ivanovsky. I will do him. Ivanovsky. It doesn't actually have to be a real artist, but it just helps.
Got it.
Right, and then I saw a typo there. Okay. Let's see how this goes. Okay, so I'm going to click run.
Oh boy.
And then I click on the diffuse thing. I don't like doing things live, but let's go. So this will start off with a noisy, blurry thing, and we won't see anything for about 50 frames. So I can keep talking now. Okay, so here we go. In 5 minutes, it will be complete. But I think after maybe 1 or 2 minutes, we're going to start seeing something.
So this is running on your laptop?
No, I've got a session on the supercomputer where I've got a super fast GPU.
Okay.
So if someone was to do this very same thing, like clone your Jupyter notebook and try this on their laptop, how long would it take? You said 5 minutes for this computer, but
so if you do it on Google Colab in the cloud, where you can actually get free sessions, they usually give you a NVIDIA K80 GPU, and it might take 1 hour because I'm using an A100 GPU here, which is basically the fastest one you can get, and K80 is 10 times slower.
Right. That was really neat.
That's the first iteration, and then after the next 50 steps, it's going to show us a bit more of a refined thing.
So is this all based in like CUDA? So I'm guessing NVIDIA graphics cards are necessary for this, or is this?
Yeah, it's like PyTorch. Yes, I think it's mainly using PyTorch and stuff like that. Oh. So yeah, CUDA. So if you're running at home, you need a GPU with lots of video RAM. I would go for upwards of 15 gig. I'm running it on a 40 gig one, which means you can actually draw high resolution pictures with this, but you don't have to do high res because you can do the upscaling. But we've had another thing here.
Oh,
yeah, so you can run it at home, and you follow a bunch of instructions to install. You use Python and pip, and you install all these packages with pip, and you basically get a virtual environment that you can run it on at home if you have a suitably fast GPU.
I think I found what I'm doing this afternoon.
Sorry,
you're doing this afternoon?
I don't
Danny,
have
if Simon doesn't put in the garlic Dalek, I will.
I can't promise that one will look great.
Yeah.
The Daleks look a bit like headless when they came out.
Oh, no. Well, maybe it will put the head of garlic on. No, that was such a bad pun.
So with this notebook, you can say how many you want in a batch. So I could just leave this running, just like the 8-year-old me that was running the Mandelbrot set and came back later. Now I am as an adult running these things, run a batch of 50 and come back and see what the batch looks like. And they will be all, what did we say? Lonely deserted warehouse with a
with a single shaft of light. Yeah,
it's capturing like the shadows really well. Like, oh man, it is a single shaft of sunlight through a small window.
I could have said color scheme as well, and it would have. Oh. So it had done a bit of yellow here, but maybe if I'd have done a purple color scheme, it would have actually used a color palette that allowed me, so I can control the color palette to some extent, and I can create videos because you've seen the Ubuntu animal videos. Instead of one prompt, I do frame 0, Breezy Badger, and then frame 40 lucid links, and then it will produce a whole batch, one frame per. It will do like 40 frames of Breezy Badger, and it will just iterate slowly over that to create this kind of shimmering effect. But you can zoom in, you can fly around, and you can do things that each frame it zooms in and shifts to the left and does all these other stuff. So yeah, you can do all sorts of stuff. I did an underwater city one. It's on my YouTube. I just uploaded it a few minutes ago as a quick demonstration, and yeah, you're kind of flying underwater and zooming around. I like this picture. It's looking good. Good choice.
Yeah.
I really like this one too.
I feel like it captured it perfectly. That's exactly what I would think of with a lonely, deserted warehouse, a dusty
Yeah.
Danny, I can upload it. I can send you this one at the end if you like. I'll send you that finished picture. Right, and now it's doing a second one in the batch. So I'll stop that now and try another. What one are we going to do next?
Klingon
yeah, it's the what is it? The
Please don't make
let me
me do
go
the
find it back here.
Blah blah blah. That was one. Right. Klingon bird.
Paramount, please don't sit US if this comes out really good. Thanks.
Right, I'm going to put the magic trending on ArtStation at the end.
What does that do? The trending on ArtStation?
If I'd have picked, I think like a Flickr competition winner, there must be some sort of tag in the training data that there's some images that have been tagged in a certain way, I think. So it might be kind of hones in on those ones. If I do an anime website, the start to anime. So I'm going to put an artist just because it helps, but it doesn't have to be anyone that exists. But we can still say Bob Ross. So no, let's just say Joe. He doesn't exist. I think actually Russian names quite often help. So Dmitry.
Why would a fake artist help?
It just seems to kind of capture the AI's attention and does it in a different way.
Oh,
I've done too many quotes here.
Does the request, like the string, does it need to be in English?
I think so, because the data would be the images are tagged, so when they go into the data set, they must be, in ImageNet, the data set is, a child holding a yellow umbrella. So I think yes, I think so. Okay, so here we go.
If those data sets have some localization though, so it would be nice if you could do it in lots of languages.
I mean, this is just the start of it, really. I don't quite, I can't quite conceive how things are going to continue from here, because this is just.
We'll find out.
Peak for me, really. I did get completely obsessed with it for a few weeks after I discovered this. Like, wow, I can't stop.
Yeah. So I know that we are going to have a part that's totally dedicated to the Ubuntu animals, but is that what then made you think about creating those in here, with just when you started making everything? Well,
that's pretty cool.
There's a mountain and there's a sunset.
I mean, Vulcan, desert planet.
Yeah.
It's capturing that feel. It doesn't not look like a Klingon bird of prey.
Yeah, I mean, it's got the basic shape.
It's just rising really quickly.
Yeah.
You got to see the next iteration, see where it goes.
Right, and okay, and then I'll tell you about how I got into the Ubuntu stuff.
Once we basically see how this makes the fan art.
Do you remember when Bob Ross was trending on Twitch for a week and it was like the most watched stream in the world? I feel like this could be that, where like people just watch it iterate and like comment the iterations. Yeah. Boom.
Oh.
Nice. We mentioned the sunrise, didn't we?
Yep.
Yeah.
Sunset.
Great. Wow. Yeah. That ticks a lot of boxes for me.
Are those going to be trees or rocks? Because Vulcan, I don't think, has trees. Maybe that's trees.
Maybe they're like the
Really
Vulcan
like that.
equivalent of cactus or Joshua trees.
This is so
Somebody has a memory alpha link that can tell us what the foliage on Vulcan is.
So, when you got your first ever, when you got in front of Google or the internet for the first time, and you're like, right, what do I search for? What do I do? That's a bit like the feeling you get with this. It's like, right, what do I do? And after a few things and, finding out what works well and what doesn't work well, I just thought, you might be able to see the disco dingo on the wall behind me. And I'm just thinking, I'd really like to see how this works with the Ubuntu mascots. And I think we must have been talking about, because Jellyfish is coming out soon, and I just thought, what cool things can I draw? And we've just got a whole rich descriptive set there. So I kicked off a few, and the Jellyfish works really well for that reason. Yes, Martin, it can do the pixel art style. It doesn't look perfect, but it is kind of pixely. I think there's a website that maybe like when I use ArtStation, then I think I used some other website that does maybe hosts pixel art. I'll try and find a picture of it in a minute. Oh, this is looking good.
Yeah, this looks really good. It's like it isn't, but it is. There's this French game I used to play called Dixit, which I don't know if you guys have ever played Dixit before. But the
I
idea
remember seeing it.
So the idea behind the game is that you have all these illustrations and paintings that aren't of anything, but they're enough to like invoke a feeling of something. So you could be like Harry Potter, and it's not Harry Potter, but like a certain card looks like it kind of is Harry Potter. So and the whole idea is that you're supposed to guess the people's card, even though it's not actually a thing. And this looks pretty much like that. Like you could make a whole Dixit set just based off of these images.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I mean, I have to say, from what we gave it, it produced a sci-fi warship against a sunset on a desert planet. I mean,
yeah, it's pretty solid.
I mean, we didn't say desert planet; we said Vulcan, and it knew.
Somehow, and
somebody trained Vulcan into it.
I can't quite get my head around this. Really, it shouldn't work this well.
Is it? I'm wondering. Is it? This is offline, right? Like, are you referencing back to like their internal database where they're like updating it, or is this like an?
This is a purely trained. They've trained the model. OpenAI are the people that have kind of produced some of these models. I think it says it's based on ImageNet, but I can't quite grasp that all of this stuff is in ImageNet. I know ImageNet. I have a copy of ImageNet somewhere at work because people do training off it, and I remember untarring it. It was like millions of images, but I can't. Does it really have all this in it? I don't know. They must have got other stuff in there as well.
I read that that Clip is a neural network that it's like 400 million like image and text pairs. That's like
okay.
Yeah.
So now is that 400 million different images or the actual different
like the embedding. There's like 400 million like image and text matches that they have in their training.
I mean, it would only take a couple, like maybe two of them could be Vulcan, and like it's enough for it to pull its inspiration from.
Yeah.
In 400 million, I mean, one of them's got to be some Star Trek.
Yeah, I'd also wonder if like other uses of Vulcan, like thinking of like volcanoes and heat, that it, even if it didn't know it was a fictional planet, it's like, okay, this should be hot. So.
Well, that's also confusing. It somehow knew the planet Vulcan and not a particular Vulcan. Like imagine like a Klingon bird of prey on Spock's face. Like that could easily have come out of that.
Oh, that's horrible. So Danny's asking the question that we all want to know.
So it's called Disco Diffusion.
That sounds like an Ubuntu name.
I'm scared to Google it while I'm showing my screen, but
Oh, I can.
it's like,
Disco diffusion.
yeah, and there's a Google Colab. It's on Google Colab. If you want to download your own, then that is another level. There's a subreddit
Is
as
it
well.
version 5?
Yeah.
Got it.
So what of this is code that you yourself wrote versus like, are you just adding comments and not comments, but like prompts into a code set that's already written? Okay.
So I've added nothing. Except the only thing I've been able to do is get it running locally on my fast GPUs, which that's kind of common knowledge. So I haven't done anything novel here. All I've done is had access to fast GPUs and been typing like a crazy monkey into this machine and seeing what comes out. There are so many settings that you can tweak, but this is effectively a fresh copy of the sheet with the default settings that I've used here, and we're getting lovely results out.
Wow.
Yeah.
How big is the model download? I mean, I imagine it would be massive.
I don't remember. I think I'm on a super fast connection there, but it took a few minutes. It just the notebook just chugs through, it clones a few Git repos and downloads. The finished model was probably not actually that big because it's a neural network rather than the images don't exist anymore. It's just been looked at by the AI. If I can try another one if anyone wants, but I'm
Do we have any other takers?
If you want to do some nice landscape ones or something descriptive like that, that will work really well. But we can try a risky other one as well.
Hold on, I want this to like random random city. I'm just gonna do random city.
I was just thinking, I mean, Marrakesh is a pretty distinctive place, but I'm thinking, what about like the most nondescript suburb you could make?
Randomcity.net gave me Bratislava, Slovakia.
Sweet.
We do something with Bratislava.
Bratislava. Maybe Spring Day in Bratislava?
Yes, Spring Day in Bratislava. Bob Ross.
Bob Ross style.
Bob Ross, totally.
I'm gonna still ask for a beautiful painting. A beautiful painting. I've got the world's noisiest mechanical keyboard.
I think that there might be people in our chat who might be able to rival you for noisy mechanical keyboards. I remember Wimpy having a kind of loud one. Just saying.
I had it at work, and my boss said, "Are you making popcorn over there?"
Wow.
Right.
It's better than making popcorn in an office to just eat for yourself. Everybody has to smell it, so.
Ooh. I'm kind of liking the pinkish hue that we're getting.
Yeah, this is a very pretty color palette.
Oh, this is an interesting question. What happens if you ask for an ugly painting?
Of
anything.
A spring day.
So basically, rather than beautiful painting.
Oh, I see.
So
we can find out. I don't know. I'm trying to produce pretty stuff. But as you can see, I'm not adding any artistic flair into this except for creative text phrases. It's just a bit of imagination, and anyone can do this.
Yeah.
I wonder what it would draw for like emptiness.
I have done some like void and emptiness.
I was not expecting this. This is totally a surprise. See, this is like a winning Twitch strategy. You could make a lot of money doing this.
I mean, it does help he's got an incredible. I mean, because for anyone else, it's like, hi, we're just going to chat for an hour while this goes. So
it'd be a great way to fund your research, though. Just like have your undergrads like live streaming 24/7. Use all the funds to like, fund this project.
That might, but we're going to pay them to stream and pay them well.
Yeah, I'm using spare capacity at the moment that we have, but I'm glad that they weren't all full up. Otherwise, it would have been a bit of a boring session. I would have had to use a really slow GPU. But no, this is working a lot better. You should never do live stuff, should you?
Wow, that is. Can we have these? Can you post these images somewhere? Like,
yeah, how can I?
Yes, we will. We will totally. Like, is it okay if we post these on our Twitter when we promote this video, saying thank you? Look at the stuff Simon's computer made. Oh my gosh! Like, look at that building. That's amazing.
It's amazing. Like, it gets the architecture. It's insane. I am so into this.
I like the mix of styles. You can do that juxtaposition of medieval futuristic, and it does it, and it figures it out, and it always seems to look aesthetically good.
Yeah.
Well, except for when you got animals. So yeah, the Ubuntu animals. I'm really struggling with the koalas and some of the other ones as well. They are getting like heads on heads, but if you work at it, I think you can sometimes get better results, but you just have to be creative.
This is absolutely beautiful. That's
a blossom on the tree as well.
I'd put that on my wall. I'd print that out and put it up.
Yeah, really, any of these things that we looked at today, I would print and frame and hang up.
Yeah, there's been no bad painting. I know that you're iffy on doing it live, but I mean, this is awesome.
Yeah, and you could just imagine Bob Ross with the happy trees,
happy little buildings.
Yeah.
So I'm doing. You can see at the bottom here, I'm doing 240 steps or 250 steps. You can do 500 steps or 1,000 steps, and it does it a little bit more sharper. Or it does it differently. But I'll try that, Martin. The great teddy bear.
Yeah. It'll probably just. I mean, you will get the nightmare drop there still, probably.
Yeah, because I'll be like having a grey teddy bear eating eucalyptus in the woods.
Oh, jeez.
So wrong.
The interesting thing about how many steps you do is that, like, if you do too many, you can honestly have diminishing returns. Like, it starts to look worse. Like, there's a perfect amount of steps where it actually looks like a human painted thing. Yeah.
Yeah, this is looking. It looks nice from about 200 onwards. This is looking nice, and it's about 4 minutes per image.
It's interesting because that happens in actual, in human created painting too. Because this is painting. It is actual painting. It's just a different way. That you can. There's a point that you just have to stop because you want to keep doing more, and it just it's too much. Oh my goodness, that was gorgeous.
It is gorgeous.
That was amazing.
See, this I needed this today because yesterday I watched a video about AI models being used that were traditionally used to come up with new pharmaceutical drugs. They flipped it so it actually came up with new poisons. And apparently in like 20 minutes, they came up with 40,000 new toxins that are worse than any toxins ever known to mankind. And I got really upset and depressed that, like, this is going to be a horrible future. But then I watched this, and I'm like, but nope, faith in humanity is restored.
Well, faith in AI.
Faith in AI is restored.
Yeah, wow. Thank you so much, Simon, for showing us like your notebook and all of the beautiful art and the 3 live demos that went very smoothly and gorgeous. Really appreciate that. Thanks,
and I think that
folks, for the suggestions.
Yeah, you all made some really good ones. And for anyone who hopped in late, I am going to repost the link to Simon's YouTube page.
Doesn't have much on it. I just uploaded a couple of examples of videos though that I did.
Actually, I need to send that to all destinations. Okay,
fantastic.
This is the OMG Ubuntu article, which does have the tarball with all the Ubuntu with all the jammy jellyfish wallpapers that Simon made. And if you would like those in an Ubuntu distro, you can download Ubuntu Mate. I'm sure Martin will be more than happy to talk to people about that. And then the notebook is here.
So to tell you the truth, I made 100 of those jellyfishes, and every single one of them looked stunning. It was incredible.
Wow. So
I know.
basically, jellyfish are the AI's like little sweet spot.
Underwater stuff and the jelly, because they're slightly abstract. Yeah,
Like
you
very
find
alien.
yeah, it does draw aliens well. And I did that. What's the name of that guy that made that the alien art? Is it like Steiger or someone? I did Hans Geiger, I think it is. Oh, I did some like quite creepy stuff with that as well. The alien films. Yeah, your mind. Yeah, you can just think of it. You never stop thinking of cool stuff to try.
That's
Nice.
so cool. Yeah.
Awesome. Outstanding. I wish I had a $30,000 GPU to do this on.
Well, you can
we can ask Ken to expense one.
Right. Yeah.
For the desktop team. Hi,
Yeah.
Ken.
Thanks so much, Simon, for showing us that cool work. It's really inspiring to new like developers or people that are interested in AI, or have a little bit of an artistic flair and want to see how they can meld that with the computer. That's really cool.
You're welcome.
Yeah. And so before we go, we just have a few minutes left. There are some announcements that we would like to make. Like the next Indaba is going to be March 22nd. So normally
April 22nd.
April. I meant April 22nd. Normally we do them like the last Friday of the month, but April is special. We have the release, and so we're going to have the day after release. We'll do the Indaba, and it is going to be a Q&A with Mark. So Mark Shuttleworth is the guest in April. And so we have some questions that we're going to ask, but we also would like to hear your questions that should be asked of Mark. So Monica has put together a wonderful form that she's linked to on Discourse here, where you can go and submit your questions to Mark Shuttleworth. We'll have the questions
April 1st.
Yep, until April 1st. So we'll have it up for a week. So go submit your questions, and then after that closes, we'll review them and let us know any questions you have for Mark. So that's very exciting.
And also, it's exciting because it's your year anniversary and the year anniversary in general of the Indabas. So,
yeah, that's right.
yay.
Yeah.
True.
So April will be the 1 year anniversary of our Indaba. So how apropos to have.
It is. It's very apt.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I like making the apt jokes.
Yeah, I do too. And the get jokes.
Yep.
And then, Britt, did you have some announcements as well?
Yeah, so with the Ubuntu 22.04 release coming out, we want to do a really strong testing cycle. So the people over at the Ubuntu Discourse, the Ubuntu Hideouts Discord.
I know it's such a pain with
those two. They are helping lead the charge on a strong testing cycle, both for the Ubuntu release itself as well as for the Firefox snap and a number of the things. Particularly, we have the new multicolored themes that you can set with Ubuntu 22.04. So all of that needs substantial testing. We already have had, I believe Yannick already uploaded a quick EMU guide for how to install the nightly using Quick EMU. And you can look on the blog, the Ubuntu blog, in the coming days. I'm going to be putting out guides myself on how to bug report, how to use GNOME boxes to do nightly testing. So there'll just be a flurry of testing related content coming out here shortly. And if that's your cup of tea, then jump on in and help us in 22.04. Awesome. And Monica, you had something to share about the.
I do. I'm just trying to get. I think this is the link to the Ubuntu Discourse. Discord, so somebody can go ahead and check. Yes, so if you noticed, we announced the winners of our desktop wallpaper competition, which were absolutely gorgeous. Well, the people on our desktop team are absolutely amazing, and thanks to Daniel, Seb, and Ken, all of our finalists are in the ISO, not just the top ones. So we are very excited about that, and we can't wait to not only have our next competition when we start the 2210 cycle, but seriously, we've had a lot of people talk to us about making art, making better photographs, and we would like to have just I think that our community used to be super vibrant in making these things, and we want to support them and maybe not only just get back to that level of activity, but even past that. And there's so many ways to do that. Maybe you might want to do some generated art. There actually were there were also some people who did much kind of less GPU intensive, but programmatically made art. And it would be great.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So that's 10, all 10 finalists.
10, all
right?
10
Awesome.
Making it to
finalists.
ISO. That's great.
Yep.
That's really exciting.
And you can tell and then the finalists have badges saying that they're, and it is the Artful Aardvark badge. If you submit or are a finalist, it's very cool.
That's very cute. I'm glad that we're doing that. So I can't wait to see all of those community generated wallpapers in the next ISO. I'm excited for the release in general. So yeah, I hope everybody else is. So please test, report your issues if you have any. And yeah, let's get ready for this next release. I'm so excited.
Yeah, and I do know Ollie wants to have another release party online. So we're talking for
so
maybe
look
the
out for
week
that.
after the Indaba. So
okay.
Yeah.
That sounds good.
Yeah. So
Cool. Well, stay tuned for all of that. We'll be posting stuff on Discourse as we always do. So keep an eye out there. And yeah, we'll see you. We'll see you next time for release with Mark.
Thank you,
So
Simon,
go submit your
for
questions.
coming.
Yeah.
Simon, thank you. And thank you everyone for your awesome ideas. And also, Britt, thank your random city picker for picking Bratislava. Great job.
Worked out great. Thank you, randomcitypicker.net.
Yeah. That's great.
Oh,
that was a lot of fun.
That was Simon. Thank you so much. And yeah, please share those pictures with us because
I will do. You're welcome.
Awesome.
Yeah. Thanks so much. So we'll say goodbye and see you in April.
All right. Bye,
Bye,
all.
everybody.